Part 2. Misconceptions about eligibility for Gayatri Sadhana. Question 1. Are there any restrictions on Gayatri worship? Answer. There is a prevalent belief that the right to worship Gayatri is exclusively restricted to the Brahmins or the so-called Dvij, which is traditionally considered synonymous with Brahmins, a caste in India. This is a gross misconception. If there is a dispute on the basis of caste, only Kshatriyas will be entitled to Gayatri Sadhana as revealed to Vishwamitra, who was its rishi. His descendants will be well within their right to lay claim to their ancestral right. But such an argument would be nothing but childish. If persons living in India alone claim the right in respect of Gayatri, what will happen to those Indians who have accepted citizenship of other countries? If Gayatri Sadhana is regarded only for Hindus, a ban will have to be imposed on those scientists who are conducting research in this field in foreign countries. In fact, in this age of intellectual freedom, it is ridiculous to talk of such absurdities. Gayatri is the manifestation of the creative power of God, and like the sun, water, air, earth, etc., everyone is entitled to derive benefit from it. The concept of proprietary rights is applicable to only material objects. Creations of nature are accessible to all in equal measure. Endless benefits, Gayatri Kalpavriksha, can be enjoyed by invocation of Gayatri by all human beings irrespective of their social status. Every religion has its supreme mantra like Kalma of Muslims, baptism of Christians, Namokar of Jains, Om Mani Padme Hum of Tibetan Buddhists. So also in Indian religion's tradition there is only one supreme mantra, Gayatri Mantra. It is foolish to say that Brahmans, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Kayasthas etc. have different Gayatris. This banay of discrimination on account of high or low caste should not be allowed to enter into and pollute the spiritual environment in which there is one God, one religion and one source of knowledge. Gayatri is also the key to the invisible cosmic consciousness. An ancient Indian practice required compulsory admission of children to schools, gurukuls, for learning spiritual concepts and practices. Here, the student was initiated by the spiritual preceptor, Guru, through this very Gayatri mantra, irrespective of his social background. As a matter of fact, the Shikha, tuft of hair on the crown of head, symbolizes ancient Indian, Bhartiya, culture. All Hindus traditionally keep Shikha as constant reminder to them to nurture high and noble thoughts. As such, Shikha itself represents Gayatri, which entitles all to the worship of Gayatri. Question 2. Is it true that Gayatri Sadhana is permissible to a particular caste only? Answer. The concept of caste is grossly misunderstood in the modern society. Ancient Indian culture did not relate the caste system to one's parentage or ancestry. In those days, defaulters of basic codes of social conduct were deprived of normal civil rights. They were compelled by the society to undertake specific duties along with deprivation of the right to worship Gayatri. The caste of a person thus denoted the field of his activity rather than his parentage. Denial of worship was, therefore, a punishment to the guilty. In the present context, the codes for social punishment have changed. Work assignments have also undergone a sea change. Under these circumstances, all human beings, owing their existence to the one supreme being, are entitled to worship Gayatri irrespective of their ancestry, parentage or belief. Question 3. Do Brahmins have a special privilege to do Gayatri Sadhana? Answer. The professed proprietary right of Brahmins, by birth, on Gayatri worship is ridiculous. Credit for embodiment and elaboration of mysticism of Mahamantra Gayatri goes to Rishi Vishwamitra, who belonged to Kshatriya caste by birth. Thus, even if the caste is considered essential for Gayatri worship, the Kshatriyas should have priority over other castes. The concept of Brahmanism has an entirely different connotation. A Brahman is one who conforms to the wisdom of Brahma, Brahmaparayan, and has an exemplary character. Only such persons of refined character can derive maximum advantage from Gayatri worship. It has been said that Gayatri is Kamdhenu of Brahmans. In several Sanskrit couplets, Dvij alone have been described as entitled to worship Gayatri. Traditionally, the words Dvij and Brahman have been considered as synonymous. In this way, each Dvij or Brahman was supposed to have the exclusive privilege of worship of Gayatri. Does it mean that individuals belonging to other castes were scripturally prohibited from worshipping Gayatri? The confusion has arisen because of misunderstanding of the meanings of words like Brahman, Dvij and caste, which are being misconstrued as hereditary distinctions conferred by God on various classes of society. Nothing can be more absurd than considering the Creator as discriminative and partial, making people take birth in a family of high or low caste. When scriptures declare that Gayatri is Kamdhenu of Brahmans, that is, Gayatri fulfills all desires of a Brahman, they mean that any human being who diligently aspires to be a Brahman by following righteousness in thoughts, words and deeds gets an access to the benefits of Gayatri. That is to say, Brahmanism is a prerequisite for Gayatri worship. As regards the word Dvij, it literally means born again. The initiation to Gayatri is the spiritual birth of a person who has otherwise taken birth as any other animal. This initiation or Diksha is like baptism amongst the Christians and is akin to admission in the primary class of the school of spirituality. The concept of caste has been grossly distorted, misunderstood and misappropriated by vested interests. In Vedic times, division of civic responsibilities into 4 classes of people who were given education and training pertaining to their respective assignments was considered expedient. Each of this class was referred to as a Varna. In course of time, when successive generations began to follow the same profession, Varnas got ossified into castes. With the change in social environment, certain castes assumed greater prominence in the society and in order to retain their supremacy propagated the concept of caste by birth as a God-given status. Question 4. Are women entitled to take up Gayatri Sadhana? Answer. For countering the oft-repeated arguments against women's right to Gayatri worship, let us try to understand the basic principles of ancient Indian culture. It propounds a global religion for the entire humanity. Nowhere does it support the illogical inequalities based on differentiation of caste, sex, etc. The code of conduct in Hindu religion assigns equality of status to all human beings in all respects with unity and compassion as its basic tenets. Thus, the abridgment of natural human civil and religious rights of women is, therefore, not in conformity with authentic Indian spiritual tradition. On the contrary, Hindu culture regards the female of human species as superior to its male counterpart. How could then the wise sages of India deprive the women of practice of Gayatri Sadhana? The spirit of Indian ethos is totally against any such discrimination. Gayatri is accessible to every individual of human species. Any thought or belief contrary to this concept is sheer nonsense and should not be given any importance. Question 5. What are the basic reasons for the anti-women stance of some sects in India? Answer. During the medieval period, there occurred overall degeneration and corruption in Indian society. Resources and power were usurped by a handful of corrupt rulers who ruthlessly exploited the poor and the downtrodden to fulfill their coffers and maintain a high style of living. It was the period of high tide of corrupt practices. Bonded labor, keeping concubines, abduction, feudal wars, mass murders, and so many other vices took deep roots in the society. The scholars dependent on the feudal lords were forced, or to write and insert spurious verses in the ancient scriptures to please their masters. Women, too, could not escape this oppression. To exploit their youth, physical and intellectual capabilities, the social codes of conduct were modified and she was systematically brainwashed and subdued. The rulers, along with the so-called scholars, gave a religious justification for the traditions established by them. The women and the untouchables in India thus continuously suffered from dual oppression, from within the country and from the foreign invaders. Woman was made to accept the virtues of parda, veil, and submissively follow the just and unjust demands of her god-husband. She was even compelled to commit suicide by forced immolation on the funeral pyre of her dead husband, the ancient tradition of sati. Depriving a woman from worship of Gayatri was also part of this conspiracy. Ancient Indian history and scriptural disciplines provide ample evidence to show that the religion in India did not permit any discrimination whatsoever between the rights of men and women. On the contrary, woman was always considered superior to man and worthy of reverence. In ancient times, the Rishikas, nuns, participated as equal with men in all religious rituals. When Gayatri herself has been symbolized as a female deity, what is the logic in denial of right of Gayatri worship to a woman? Question 6. Is Gayatri worship permissible for the non-vegetarians and those who take liquors? Answer. It is said that Gayatri is a sacred mantra and those who worship it should live a life of inner and outer purity. They should not take liquor, meat, etc. It is good not to indulge in intoxicants. It is better to remain pure as far as possible. This, however, does not mean that no medicines should be given to a person living in unhealthy conditions. It is the speciality of Gayatri mantra that by its worship, defects and vices of a person start falling off from the sadhaka's nature. By taking a dip in the Ganga, every living being becomes pure. None, not even a cow, buffalo, donkey, horse is prevented from entering into this sacred river. In the same way, any person of any social status can perform sadhana of Gayatri mantra without any restrictions whatsoever. His vices, defects will automatically go on reducing in the course of time. Just as the argument that a patient should not be given medicine is wrong, so also the statement that Gayatri mantra should not be adopted if food and daily routine of a person are defective is fallacious. Question 7. Is Yagyopavit essential for Gayatri worship? What is its significance? Answer. It cannot be made mandatory that those alone who put in Yagyopavit can perform Gayatri jap. However, since Yagyopavit is an image of Gayatri, it is better if its worshipper puts it on. Yagyopavit is a form of Gayatri. It is preferable to perform worship sitting in a temple in front of a deity. It, however, does not mean that if there is no temple or deity, worship should not be performed. Gayatri sadhana can be performed even without putting on the Yagyopavit. Yagyopavit, in fact, a symbol of Gayatri Mahamantra. The 9 threads in it represent the 9 words of Gayatri Mantra. 3 strands indicate threefold achievements. Similarly, the 3 knots, Vyahrites, and the large knot, Om, are also part of the mantra. In a nutshell, Yagyopavit is the sacred symbol of Gayatri, wearer of which, across the left shoulder near the heart, constantly remembers the pledge he has taken to follow the doctrine of Gayatri sadhana. Just as one derives greater benefit by worshipping before a deity in a temple, but can also pray anywhere, Yagyopavit is recommended but is not mandatory. Part 3. Queries about the mantra. Question 1. How does the Gayatri mantra as a Ved mantra differ from other Lokik mantras? Answer. Gayatri mantra is the primordial mantra self-manifested by the projection of the will, sankalp, of omnipotent divine to bring into existence the present cycle of creation, Varah Kalpa. According to Hindu mythology, there are infinite cosmic cycles of expansion and contraction known as Shrishti and Pralaya. At the time of Mahapralay or Doomsday, all matter and energy present in the cosmos gets contracted into elementary, Akash, and Pran. In the succeeding cycle, these expand to constitute the multitude of energies and forces which operate on the elemental Akash to produce animate and inanimate objects of the creation. Vedas, in which Gayatri Mantra is mentioned several times, Rigveda 3:6-10, Yajurved 3:35, 22:9, 36:3, Samved 4:6-2, are considered divine revelation, Apaurushaya. The Lokik mantras are, on the other hand, composition of rishis, that is, they are man-made, Paurushaya. Hence the supremacy of Gayatri Mantra. Question 2. Is it permissible to chant other mantras or worship other deities along with Gayatri? Answer. Central theme of any form of worship is meditation. The exclusive objective of jap and meditation in upasana is to establish an intimate emotional bond between the devotee and God. Spirituality in India permits a free choice amongst a multitude of symbols, as deities, for meditating on attributes of the Creator. Once a particular deity is chosen as one's Ishtadevta, exclusive representative deity for worship, it is considered mandatory to follow the rituals and mantras of upasana pertaining to the Ishtadevta only and pursue upasana sadhana aradhana strictly according to the procedure laid down by the Guru. During sadhana, the Ishtadevta is treated like a living person, as one's most intimate relative, as father, mother, brother, helper, master, friend, all rolled into one, Tvameva Mata, Cha, Pita Tvameva. Only after cultivating such an intimate relationship with God can one expect His/her grace. Because of ignorance, many devotees decorate their place of worship with assorted forms, photographs, etc. of deities, chant many mantras and say prayers to please them. Disregarding the oneness of God, Brahma, they try to establish some relationship with many deities in expectation of multifarious benefits from each of them. In the field of spirituality, such a practice becomes counterproductive. The deities represent streams of that one fountainhead of God. Interaction with some particular attributes of God, deity, may be necessary for a particular purpose, but for an all-round spiritual progress, one should choose Gayatri as Isht Devta. Refer Upasana ke do charan jap aur dhyan. Question 3. Why is Gayatri represented as a female deity? Answer. Several people say that when masculine words have been used in Gayatri, how can it be said Gayatri Mata? It should be understood that the absolute divinity it represents is all-pervasive and formless. It is beyond gender. In scriptures, both masculine and feminine words are used for fire, air, etc. The famous Sanskrit couplet, which is a prayer to God, says, O God, you are mother, you are father, Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva. Literally, Savita may be called masculine, but its power, Savitri, is feminine. These allegorical descriptions in the scriptures should be taken as such and not used to score declamatory points. Question 4. What is the basis of words in Gayatri Mantra adding up to 24 letters? Answer. The confusion about Gayatri Mantra having a total of 23 letters only arises mainly because of the word Nayam in Varenyam. In the composition of the Richas, couplets, of Vedas, meanings are subordinate to the syntax of words, which is according to specified musical notations. The Chandas, components of Vedas classified according to number of letters, in the Vedas are composed keeping in view the symphony to be created by the succession of words for a desired objective. Musicians change the pitch and duration of the tones to conform to a raga. The mystery of difference between the written and pronounced nyam in the mantra lies in its sonic effect. In this way, considering nyam as a composite of ni and yam according to their musical notation, the first, second and third segments of the mantra add up to 8 words each. Adya Shankaracharya endorses this view. The Pingal Shastra and Mantra Arth Chandrode also support the grammatical conformity of Gayatri Mantra on the same principle. In this way, the letters in the mantra are to be counted as follows: 1. Tat, 2. Sa, 3. V, 4. Tur, 5. Var, 6. Re, 7. Ni, 8. Yam, 9. Bha, 10. Argo, 11. Dale, 12. Va, 13. Sya, 14. Dhi, 15. Ma, 16. He, 17. Dhi, 18. Yo, 19. Yo, 20. Nah, 21. Pra, 22. Cho, 23. The, 24. Yat. For further reference, please refer to the monthly periodical Akhand Jyoti, May 1983 issue. Question 5. Does Gayatri Mantra conform to the rules of Sanskrit grammar? Answer. At times, points are raised about supposed grammatical inaccuracies in the composition of Gayatri Mantra. These misconceptions arise when the Shrutis, Richas of Vedas and Upanishads, are studied and evaluated as literary, human creations. Unlike the religious books and teachings of the Rishis compiled as Smritis, Puranas, Tantras, etc., Shrutis are considered eternal divine revelations, Apaurushaya, dealing with interrelationship of soul and God. Thus, Shrutis are not meant for literary comprehension and intellectual dissertations. Their compilers had explicitly stated that in order to understand and experience the mysteries of Vedas, that is Shrutis, it is essential to have adequate exposure to various related scriptural texts, commentaries of seers, interaction with seer scholars, and above all the grace of God. This alone can purify the soul, making it receptive to the supreme wisdom revealed in the Shrutis. It is, thus, irrefutable that the Vedas, which include the Gayatri Mantra, are not governed by the laws of Sanskrit grammar, which is a product of human endeavor and came into existence at a much later stage in human evolution. Question 6. How many Omkars are included in the Gayatri Mantra? Answer. Gayatri Mantra is complete in itself. It is not at all necessary to supplement it by assigning 3 or 5 Oms by way of Bij Mantra or Samput. This is done only in the Tantric system. The common man should not bother about some odd references in scriptures which justify prefixing, interfixing or suffixing more than one Omkars, Om, with the Gayatri Mantra. The practice of using more than one Omkar was probably adopted by different sects as a mark of distinction, as followers of various sects use uniform, tilak chhap marking on forehead etc. to identify themselves. The standard Guru Mantra, Gayatri, comprises of 3 Vyahritis and 3 phrases of 8 letters, each prefixed by Om. Om is in fact a symbol of reverence preceding all Ved mantras, as Mr., Mrs., Miss, etc. are prefixed to the names of persons. However, there is no restriction in using more than one Omkars, though the standard practice of prefixing one Omkar, Om, is recommended for maintaining uniformity. Question 7. What are Vyahritis? Answer. The Gayatri Mantra begins with enunciation of Om. Amen in Christianity and Ameen in Islam are its variants. Om is believed to be resonating all over the cosmos as the primordial sound. Spiritual science considers it as one of the cosmic representations of omnipresent God, Shabda Brahma or Nad Brahma. Devotees attempt to simulate Om in audible frequencies by blowing in a conch shell, sounding a gong, ringing a large bell, or simply by pronouncing Om. The Vyahrites, Bhur, Bhuvaha and Swaha are the three amongst the 5 elemental streams of primordial energy emanating from Om, refer Gayatri Tattva Bodh. Spiritual science refers to these streams as Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the sustainer, Mahesh, the destroyer. The 3 primary attributes of animate and inanimate components of the cosmos, Sat, Raj and Tam, are also known as Vyahrites. Though not part of the text of Gayatri Mantra, the Vyahrites are considered as the fountainhead, Shirsha, of this mantra and are used as its prefix. Question 8. What is a Bij Mantra? How is it applied? Answer. All religions of the world make use of a part of their scriptures as a representative Bij Mantra. Thus, Mohammedans have their Kalma, the Christians' baptism, and the Jains' Namokar Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra is the Bij Mantra for the Hindus. An abbreviation of a Ved Mantra is also known as its Bij Mantra. Literally, the word Bij means seed. In the seed are inherent all the characteristics of the tree. The DNA of a person is also akin to the seed of a plant, since it contains all genetic characteristics of a living organism. Bij mantras, like the microchips in the computer, are small but extraordinarily effective for invocation of specific streams of divine powers for particular objectives. The application of Bij mantras, however, belongs to Tantric system, and these can only be made use of under the guidance of an expert. In Gayatri Mantra as a whole, there are Bij mantras Bhur, Bhuvaha and Swaha, corresponding to each of its 3 segments. Besides, each of its 24 letters has a Bij mantra of its own. The Bij mantra in Gayatri is applied after the Vyahriti, Bhur Bhuvaha Swaha, prefixing Tatsviturvrinyam. It is also used as a suffix, Samput, after Prachodayat. Refer Gayatri ka har akshar Shakti Shrot. Question 9. How is Rishi Vishwamitra related to Gayatri Mantra? Answer. Vishwamitra was the first Rishi of this Kalp, the present cycle of creation, who could access all powers of Gayatri. In spiritual parlance, he was the first master of Gayatri Sadhana. Rishi Vishwamitra standardized the procedures of Gayatri Sadhana for the common man. Part 4. Fallacies about scriptural restrictions. Question 1. Is Gayatri worship conditioned? Is Gayatri kilit? Answer. There are 2 methods for invoking powers of Gayatri. One, the simple divine method for spiritual progress, and the other an intricate method of Tantra Shastra for immediate fulfillment of worldly desires. The mantras of Tantra Shastra also have a destructive power. Unless they are practiced with a strict discipline and for proper objective, they are capable of inflicting harm on the practitioner. A person with an ulterior motive can inflict harm on others through the power obtained by invocation of occult powers through Tantra Sadhana. Hence, specific key procedures are required to unlock the powers of Tantric mantras. This, too, is possible only with the help of an experienced guru. As doses of a high-potency medicine are to be decided by an experienced doctor, decoding or unlocking a mantra in the above discipline depends on the spiritual status of the one practitioner. Durga Shaptshati, which requires Kavach, Keelan, and Argal, may be quoted as an example. Vedic mantras, such as Gayatri, are not bound by such strict restrictions, as they are practiced exclusively for one's inherent spiritual growth and for developing God-gifted capabilities for performing noble deeds. Vedic mantras, therefore, do not require any unlocking keys. Nevertheless, as a sick person or a student needs an experienced doctor or a teacher for proper treatment, or teaching a beginner in this field too requires the guidance of an accomplished guru, in the absence of which he wanders aimlessly without making any progress whatsoever in the path of sadhana. None should entertain any apprehension that in Kali Yuga, Gayatri Mantra has been accursed or that its sadhana goes in vain. Who can curse God and what effect can it have? This is nothing but a ruse meant to undermine the faith of the people and to allure them to join some other sect. Question 2. What is the truth in the belief that God Brahma and Rishis Vasishtha and Vishwamitra had laid a curse, shrap, that success will elude the practitioner unless she recites certain verses, shlokas? Answer. That this is baseless is established by the following references from the scriptures. Gayatri is well known as the inherent creative power of God. She is also at places referred metaphysically as spouse of God Brahma. Scriptures say that with the help of Gayatri, he, Brahma, created the universe and expounded the doctrines of Vedas. The four faces of Brahma symbolize the four streams of Vedic revelation. B. Vasishtha inflicted a crushing defeat on Vishwamitra with the help of Nandini, the symbolical cow which fulfills all wishes and is regarded as the counterpart of Kamdhenu of heaven, Swarg. C. To Vishwamitra goes the credit of unraveling the mystery of Gayatri. Not only he practiced Gayatri for a very long period with strictest of self-discipline and acquired immense occult powers therefrom, but also developed the expertise and methodology for invocation of divine powers through practice of Gayatri sadhana. From the aforesaid, it is evident that the great spiritual personalities of yore had used the power of Gayatri to fulfill their objectives. There is, therefore, no logic in assuming that they had cursed it and deprived other human beings of its fruits. It appears that the feudal lords of the medieval ages propounded their independent cults and to establish their own doctrines found it necessary to discredit the traditional practice of Gayatri. The concocted story of curse on Gayatri was the easiest and simplest way of striking at the roots of faith and confidence of the masses. This could have been one reason behind this baseless assumption. Otherwise, who in this universe has the capability to put a curse on divine manifestations like the sun, clouds, air, lightning, the earth, etc.? Gayatri is, in essence, the primordial energy of the Almighty. Hence, all are free to utilize it without any restrictions or apprehensions whatsoever. At the most, the concept of the so-called curse may be symbolically indicative of the need for a guru of the status of Vasishtha and Vishwamitra, in absence of whom success eludes the worshipper. Question 3. Is Guru mandatory for Gayatri worship? Answer. Gayatri is also known as Guru Mantra, that is, to achieve a higher level of spiritual accomplishment, one needs an experienced guru as a spiritual guide and protector. Let us draw an analogy from other fields. Some fields of learning require only books, whereas for others like music, crafts, etc., direct help of an expert is needed. Similarly, though the daily rituals of Gayatri worship are quite simple, for higher levels of achievement when the worshipper, depending upon his own personal spiritual status acquired through previous births, faces several ups and downs, an experienced guru is needed just as a doctor is required during treatment of a disease. Thus, though one can take up Gayatri worship without a guru, initiation by a proper experienced guru is advisable. Enlightened spiritual master is necessary for receiving instruction and direction for accelerating one's spiritual growth. The spiritual evolution of the soul is a prolonged process continuing through countless cycles of births and deaths. Sought in a hurry, an inexperienced person posing as guru may do more harm than good to the disciple. Question 4. I have already taken Diksha, initiation, from a guru. Will it be proper for me to seek another guru? Answer. There are no restrictions on choosing more than one guru. It all depends on the type and level of achievement sought for. Ram had Vasishtha as his family guru and Vishwamitra for learning of martial and other branches of knowledge. Dattatreya is known for having 24 gurus. Durvasa was family guru of Krishna and Brahaspati was his guru in respect of learning the specific branches of knowledge. In schools, with the change in class, teachers also change. Village Purohit, Tirth Purohit, family Purohit, Diksha Purohit, Sadhana Purohit are all different. They do not contradict but supplement each other. Question 5. Is audible chanting of Gayatri scripturally permissible? Answer. Some people say that Gayatri mantra being a secret mantra should only be whispered in the ear during initiation. This may apply to tantric mantras but not to Gayatri mantra. According to scriptures, the Ved mantras should be chanted loudly with tune or accent according to specified notation. Whispering is needed only for secrecy and it is done in seclusion in conspiracies. There is nothing in Gayatri mantra necessitating such a secrecy. Nowhere in the scriptures, audible chanting of Gayatri is forbidden. The tradition of whispering the mantra in the ears of the person being initiated owes its origin to the vested interests of the Dark Middle Ages, when a particular class of society amongst the Hindus claimed exclusive rights to Gayatri worship and its initiation in order to prove its superiority in spiritual matters. Nothing can be more ludicrous than preaching secrecy and advocating intellectual proprietary rights on worship of God. During the medieval period, the popes in Europe indulged in similar corrupt practices. In fact, the scriptures clearly emphasize the need to rhyme the Gayatri mantra. In Devi Bhagvat 1.1.3.1.1, it is mentioned that, since it protects its singer, it is known as Gayatri. The Chandogyopanishad, Shankar Bhasi, too confirms this assertion. The Niruktam says that since this mantra was used by the Devtas for praying, Stuti, it came to be known as Gayatri Mantra 712. Besides, literally the word Gayatri is composed of two words, Gai and Try. In Sanskrit, Gai stands for to sing and Train means to look after or to protect, that is, it protects the one who sings it. Hence, arguments against audible chanting of this mantra have no basis whatsoever. Ordinarily, jap should be performed in such a way that throat, lips, tongue may go on moving, but even a person sitting close by may not be able to hear. It is possible to have estimation of average time and number of japs with the help of a mala. Those who do not possess a mala can estimate the number approximately with the help of time. Tulsi, sandalwood malas are most appropriate ones for performance of jap. For tantric applications, Rudraksh malas are used. Ordinarily, words are pronounced by the movement of throat, palate, tongue, lips, etc. According to spiritual science, it is also mentioned that there are some subtle centers, channels, etc. within the human body which vibrate along with utterance of words. As soon as the key of a typewriter is pressed, there is a stroke on the paper and the particular letter is typed on it. The letters of Gayatri Mantra have been selected in such a manner that by utterance thereof specific ultrasonic sound waves are created and positive attributes of guna, virtues, karma, action, and swabhav, nature, get activated. A sadhaka gains spiritually as well as materially by this sadhana. Mental jap without moving the lips can be performed during illness or in a journey when a person cannot take a bath and during the period of sutak when there is birth or death in a family. It can also be done while walking on the road or lying on the bed at night.